Now on KGW News, high gas prices spurring on thieves.
All of our trucks have been vandalized, every single one of them.
From U-Haul lots to public streets, the cars and trucks seriously damaged and left on empty.
Plus, it was the landslide that ripped a neighborhood apart.
I miss my neighbors so much today.
The new plans to make sure the victims will always be remembered.
And he spent the last 2 years watching COVID spread through Oregon.
It's not going away completely.
So what does this expert see? Coming next. Your news starts now. Your news.
I am questioning your discretion, your judgment. That's exactly what I'm doing.
I am not importing my personal views or policy preferences.
First tonight, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson staunchly defended her record on day 2 of her confirmation hearing as a Supreme Court nominee. Senators questioned her on everything from abortion to her background as a federal public defender. Good evening, I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko. And if she is confirmed, and Democrats likely have the votes without any GOP support here, Jackson would become the first Black woman on the nation's highest court.
Our Alma McCarty talked to one of Oregon's top legal scholars about what this historic moment means for her personally and professionally.
This moment for us is inspirational for so many. It's for all of us. So for the people that may not have tried to even venture into a career in law.
Dean Marcelin Burke of University of Oregon School of Law watched closely as Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson faced hours of questioning during day 2 of her confirmation hearing.
My record demonstrates my impartiality.
She has certainly displayed what we call the judicial temperament.
She calls Jackson's resume, her decade of experience on the bench, unimpeachable.
There's really no room for challenging her experience, her knowledge of the law, her expertise.
Jackson's background resonating with her personally.
So as a lawyer, as a Black woman, as a woman from the South, with similar backgrounds, it means something to me on so many different levels.
She, along with hundreds of other law professors across the country, expressed their support of Jackson and her qualifications in a letter, encouraging the Senate to move swiftly with the confirmation process.
I went through a confirmation hearing, a process when I was nominated by President Barack Obama to be the Assistant Secretary for Land and Minerals at the Department of the Interior. And mind you, much lower stakes process, but important similarities.
Burke explained the level of preparation was unparalleled, with lawmakers combing through and questioning everything you've written and said.
They have an actual record, so they can look back at her over 570 opinions. And so they don't have to guess about how would she approach a certain issue.
Burke says the road to Judge Jackson's confirmation should be celebrated by many, the Supreme Court becoming more representative of the citizens of the United States.
And that will be a magnificent manifestation of the ideals and the values of this country.
After more than 13 hours of questioning today, the confirmation hearing will resume tomorrow. President Biden nominated Jackson to replace liberal Justice Stephen Breyer, the oldest justice on the Supreme Court. He will retire at the end of this term. Judge Jackson was a law clerk for Justice Breyer back in 1999. New tonight in New Orleans, part of the city is cleaning up from a deadly tornado. The storm was caught on camera during a live news broadcast. It ripped through part of a city that was once heavily damaged from Hurricane Katrina. Cars were flipped over and roofs ripped off homes. At least one person has been killed. Several others are injured. The same storm system spawned tornadoes in Texas and Oklahoma. In Washington state, it has been 8 years since we saw one of the deadliest landslides in American history. 43 people lost their lives in the small town of Oso, Washington. And today, friends and families of those who died return to what they call sacred ground to remember the past and look to the future. Here's Eric Wilkinson.
With every toll of the bell, the reality of that day is awakened.
I miss my neighbors so much today.
And no matter how much time passes, it doesn't get any easier.
I can remember everything of that day.
Jessica Bazanka lost her sister, 2 nephews, and 3 other family members when the hillside gave way, swallowing an entire neighborhood, 49 homes, 43 people.
Every Sunday we had dinner together, and we were just very close. So that hole is still there. At every family function, there's just a piece always missing.
Over the years, smaller memorials like these trees have been placed here at the site. But now, 8 years later, funding has finally been secured to bring a large-scale memorial here, with work slated to begin this fall.
As we stand here on this most sacred and hallowed ground.
Soon, this ground will get the respect it deserves. Snohomish County helping fund a $5 million memorial. The project will honor those killed, those who survived, and those who worked tirelessly for months recovering the remains of the victims.
You can't work with these people and not be touched by them and just the love that they've brought to what they're doing and what this means to them. So it has become personal.
Among those helping with the fundraising efforts is Jessica, who made a promise to her beloved sister that she'd make the remembrance a reality. But fundraising stalled, and Jessica's parents began to lose hope.
This thing is not going to happen in our lifetime. We're going to be dead before there's a permanent memorial. And I told them, I said, I'm not giving up.
Thanks to Jessica's perseverance and the dedication of this entire community, all will be properly honored here in 2 years when they return once again to observe 10 years since the day that changed everything.
I want people to come here and remember there's more to life than politics, gas prices, coronavirus, all the stuff that's going on in this world, and that to appreciate and love your loved ones.
Seared in their memories there, just a little perspective. Okay, let us turn to the war in Ukraine. Troubling developments tonight with Russia accused of seizing 15 rescue workers that were part of a humanitarian convoy. That team apparently trying to get desperately needed aid into the city of Mariupol, a city that is still under siege. This is new video showing attacks continuing there. An estimated 100,000 civilians still trapped, with food and other supplies already scarce, simply dwindling. Meanwhile, President Biden is headed to Brussels for an emergency summit with NATO leaders. The president's second stop will be in Poland, where more than 2 million Ukrainian refugees have already sought shelter.
The president is traveling to Europe to ensure we stay united, to cement our collective resolve, to send a powerful message that we are prepared and committed to this for as long as it takes.
And that message could potentially include permanently increasing the number of U.S. troops deployed in NATO countries near Ukraine.
Tens of thousands more Ukrainians arrive in Polish border towns every day. A Vancouver man who traveled to the border wants to encourage people here to give as much as they can. Joseph Trachuk is a member of Kingdom Movement Church in Vancouver. Earlier this month, he and some other volunteers went to the Ukrainian-Polish border to help the thousands of refugees trying to cross. He was there for 8 days and returned to the U.S. last week. He said the reality of war didn't hit him until he got there.
Like when you're on your way to the border of Ukraine, you just see bus after bus full of people that are being brought out by people that are coming in on their buses, on their businesses to help bring people out. And then you see tons of supplies going in and out. So you're seeing a lot of help.
Joseph says he has family in an area of Ukraine on the verge of being taken over by the Russian army, and they need basic supplies like food and water. We have a special section on our website where you can see ways to help with relief efforts in Ukraine and get the day's big updates on the invasion. Just text the word Ukraine to 503-226-5088 and we'll text you back a link. You can also go to kgw.com/Ukraine.
As those waves come and go, it does mean that you open up for periods. It might mean you have to slow it down again.
That is Dr. Peter Graven at OHSU, who's been tracking changes with COVID and forecasting throughout the pandemic. And now, while many of us take a much needed breath of fresh air mask-free, he is watching even more closely. Here's Galen Ellen.
Dr. Peter Graven at OHSU says predicting pandemic outcomes is like his Super Bowl.
I love hard problems, and I have to tell you, this has been the hardest one.
For more than 100 weeks, he has created a COVID forecast for Oregon, analyzing data and dynamics across the globe.
Now that the mask mandate is lifted, where do you feel that we're at?
Well, so far, we're still following the same path.
About a week into Oregon dropping masks, he says cases are steady.
Amongst the lowest we've seen.
And fewer than 200 COVID patients are in the hospital, a key metric in deciding restrictions.
And that starts ticking up. We don't get to play games with whether or not we want to wear a mask or not. Unfortunately, we'll run out of beds.
But it's early yet to know if there will be a spike.
There would be a lag, so I am expecting that there will be some effect.
Another concern is the BA.2 variant of COVID's Omicron strain. It's the dominant strain in Europe right now, but so far not causing significant problems.
We're not done with the pandemic.
Teresa Everson is Deputy Health Director for the Multnomah County Health Department and says the variant is on the radar, but not a problem yet.
In areas where we have a lot of immunity, both from vaccination and from an Omicron surge, that they're not really seeing much of an impact.
You know, our immunity right now is really high, and that will wane over time. And then we may see infections pick up again.
That could mean an ebb and flow of masking again or limited reopening as the virus circulates.
It's a strategy that we have to be prepared for.
While it appears most people are safe, the remaining concern is for those who are immunocompromised. And as we enter this endemic stage of COVID, a reminder.
It's not going away completely.
Galen Etlin reporting there. By the way, in just the last 24 hours, we've had some high-profile positive tests. Those include the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who reports cold-like symptoms. Now, both President Biden and former President Clinton have tested negative.